So right, welcome. So today, Robyn, this one's actually going to be going out later on today as well. So we can do a bit of plugging for the summit as well. And yeah, we're talking about habits. So Dave and I, we just generally, what's our script, Dave?
I'll show you the script. Here it is, blank piece of paper. Actually, it's not blank. Look, I don't know if you can see that, Robyn. I'll put your name at the top. So it's not blank.
There we go. Yay. See, we're
And the date.
After that, it's blank. And that's where we kind of fill in the blanks. Because at the bottom is a load of scribble because my pen didn't work. So between there and there, that's what we're going to do now.
Right.
I think most people are getting used to the way I work, which is like, we wing it on the day and see where it goes.
Yeah.
So, well, if you overscript it, you can't, it's not natural, is it?
It's always good to have no agenda, no attachments, no expectations. And actually, that was something that one of my clients particularly mentioned about how he felt he got the most benefit out of working with me, was that he came with an open mind. So I asked him to share that as a review, which he has just done. So yeah, it's all coming together and just confirming that it's best to have no agenda.
But that's also a good habit, isn't it? To talk, maybe to bring in, we have a habit of planning. We have to know.
Yes.
So right, let's pin that. And right, Dave, are you gonna do your magic?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think we should, Sue. I think what we just said, we should include that in, because the feedback I've got is people love the way we just rabbit on and just chat, and we have no agenda and we just do it. And I think that there's a beautiful segue from where we started somewhere. Don't worry, we'll edit it somewhere, all right, to just what we were just talking about. So let's just carry on. Let's just carry on.
So, well, in that case, what I'm going to do, because you can edit easier than I can, because we're on video. No. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a belated intro and say, welcome to Get in the Habit podcast with me, Sue Allsworth, and
me, David Finch. She's such an expert.
Sliding it in. And today we have got the delightful Robyn Harris with us. Welcome, Robyn.
Thank you, Sue. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah.
So right, so now we've started. Everyone can hear our little chit chat. So yeah, we were just saying about what were we going to talk about today, and habits and different things. And yeah, Robyn, you were saying something about, that letting go of attachment of what it is. So do you want to explain more on that?
Really, what we were just talking about, and the fact that we didn't necessarily have an agenda planned for today, made me think about something that a recent client said to me. He was saying how he found it that he got the best out of our sessions when he came with an open mind, when he came with no expectations, no attachments, just came and allowed what would come up, and then to explore that just again with open mind, curiosity, that kind of beginner's mind idea of this can go anywhere, and I have no attachments, no expectations as to where it will go. I will just allow, I will just go with that flow. And it also reminded me of something that I went to this absolutely amazing 2-day webinar last September called The I and the I. So the I that we see with, and the I that is our identity. And it was looking at, how do I see myself within the world? And my place in that, and so on. And the guy who was leading it was talking about how attachments are what is the root behind our dis-ease. It's where we feel attached to things. When we can let that go, when we can just allow things to flow. And I was exploring this morning about the concept of conditioning, and how our conditioning pre-programs us to bottle up our emotions rather than just letting them flow. And that's where we often experience dis-ease and move away from well-being and just allowing ourselves to be who we really are. We're trying to fit into some mold that somebody else has prescribed for us. And it just often leads to a lot of discomfort and not really feeling comfortable within our own skin, which is what I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. I mean, I think back to when I felt more at this ease with myself. And yeah, it was because I was attached to, have the habit of wanting to attach to the outcome, of feeling that in that sense I had a sense of control, when we actually now know, and I now know control is really just an illusion, sort of thing. And actually, the more letting go that you can do and stepping into that flow that you were talking about, Robyn, is actually where the control is, funnily enough. But you're not going to get it until you sort of felt it, sort of thing, because it's a really difficult thing. What do you mean I've got to let go of that outcome? But we are habitually programmed to look at what's it going to come out like, what's going to happen, what's going to be the end product. And Robyn, and both Dave knows, I do very much work. Dave and I, we do have we know who's coming on our podcast. We know we're going to talk about habits in some way or form, but other than that, we have no script. We want to let it flow organically, because who knows, if you put that condition, as you was talking about, onto that attachment to the end thing, then you're possibly stopping some other beautiful stuff from coming out, because you're so focused on, well, that's what we've got to talk about, that's the only thing that we've said that we're going to do. Does that make sense?
It keeps us rigid, doesn't it?
Sorry, Robyn, I just jumped straight in there. Go on, what was you saying?
Just that it's that kind of like, even your way of using your hands there, it just keeps us rigid, and it keeps us narrow visioned rather than being open to seeing all of the possibilities. We might see a door close and not see a window open over to the side. And to me, it's about, that's where our power lies, our true authentic power, the power with, not, as somebody I was talking to recently was talking about, the power over, sort of dominating something, the power under, where I need to have somebody do things for me, versus the power with. And that's what we're aiming for, that kind of working together, working with other people, working with the universe, power with, to really be the fullest, have our greatest potential achieved, and to let our inner light shine.
Yeah. It's nice. I think you can work in a very creative way then, when you have no agenda, as Sue said, we have no agenda with our podcast. And I think that's great in life sometimes, if you have no real agenda. All right, you can have a guideline, you can have somewhere that you want to get to, but if you don't flow left and right and up and down, doesn't really matter. Sometimes you should enjoy the journey rather than worrying about the destination. That's one of my phrases. I love that one. Enjoy the journey rather than concern. Sometimes you do this when you go on holiday. It struck me years and years ago. We went on holiday with my son. He was quite young at the time, but probably about 10 or 11, whatever. Can't even remember where he was going, but he was really concerned about the destination. Let's get there. Let's get there. Let's get there. It's going to be great when we get there. But all the way along, like going to the airport, getting on the plane and all that, he didn't really see that as being like an adventure, which, when you're young, it should be, really, shouldn't it? It should be, oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying going on the plane for a first or second time or whatever, and enjoying all the steps along the way. But he was really focused on the destination. And in some ways that can, it spoil the adventure, just enjoy it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in that dark tunnel, with no light at the end, I so needed to not only see that light, I needed to know what that light was. Whereas now, I mean, with everything that's been going on in the past sort of 12 months now, really, coming up for us, it's kind of like, I know that there is a light at the end of this tunnel. what it is that we're going through, and what it is, we're always, something will always be happening in the world that we're experiencing. I know it's enough for me to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because as you say, David, in between where I'm at and where that light is, it's so much adventure. There's so much, you know, new learnings, new things. And as you say, Robyn, if you can't look anything, you know, my dark tunnel has got lots of shoots off now, and I know that whichever way I go down, there's a light, and that's all I need to know, is that there's a light that will be revealed. And going back to bringing the universe into it, Robyn, like you said, I'm very much, as you know, very in sync with that, in the sense that, you know, it's not woo-wooey. The universe has its laws and principles, exactly the same as gravity, electricity, all these things we can't see, yet we know function. And however much I've tried to disprove the law of attraction, I've proved it by trying to disprove it. And so I can't argue with that law anymore. So there are things that are working. The universe is doing its thing, whether we are tapped into it or think we're, you know, we're always tapped into it, but whether we're consciously tapped into it or not. And we just, I think, yeah, we get into that habit of just, we think the knowing is going to give us security. I think that's what it is, isn't it? Everyone wants to feel safe. Let's face it. You know, that's something that, if we feel safe with a home, with food, with shelter, with those basic needs, we can flourish a lot more to some degree. Agreed?
Yeah.
So
Safety is a basic thing that we all want, really, isn't it? To feel safe.
Yeah, and knowing what that destination is kind of makes us feel safe. It's like, you know, going back to your holiday analogy, we feel safe because we've booked a place, and we know that when we get there, we've got a hotel, we've got a food, we've got a bed and everything. But what happens if you just decided to wake up one day and when you can, anyway, not obviously in this day and age, but I can't wait to go on a magical road trip. I get in my car and I have nothing booked. Because why do I need to book anything when I can just sort of see where it takes me? Because as you say, if I'm booking something, I might miss an open window.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's how manifestation really works. And you were talking there about the law of attraction, that we just have a vague concept of where we're going. We have that idea of today is a podcast and today we're going to talk about habits, but not too rigid. So I'm not worried about how it's going to happen. I just have this vision, and the journey can take whatever way it's going to take. I know that I'll get there, wherever there is going to be. And you were saying about feeling safe. And to me, that's because we've started to be so much in our mind space. We're so analytical. We're so needing to know from up here versus trusting that actually our, what I call soul self, does already know, and it's taking us there. And the universe is a gentle, loving, guiding hand with those principles and laws that it works by, because it always wants just to grow and to learn and to develop. It doesn't want to kill itself off. So when we trust to that and we just allow it to guide us, for me, the only how that is important is, how am I showing up? How am I choosing to be? How am I exploring how I can be more? So maybe what habits can I put in place? Self-care, all of these sorts of things, focusing on my mindset, being mindful, or I like to look at the thought of being full, not just the mind, because we spend so much time in our headspace, but to bring in the fact that we are mind, body, and soul, and to look at what habits can we create that support, uplift all of those aspects of who we are. And then life just is an adventure. You don't even need to worry about where you're going. You just know that I'm holding that vision of me being the best that I can be, and then able to give all that I can give, all of the gifts that I have been given, I can then share to the best of my ability. That's all I'm aiming for. That's all I'm trying to step into. And then I'm just enjoying my road trip. and seeing what I'm going to see along the way, trusting and knowing that even if it's uncomfortable, there's something within it. There's an opportunity, there's a learning, there's a growth within it. And then it doesn't need to be suffering, even if it's uncomfortable.
No, I mean, it beautifully leads into the fact that, you know, with you and Dave and myself and lots of others sort of allowing each day and opportunities to unfold, it's how we've all come together, because you're actually on the BU Summit, which is next weekend. It's weekend after next, isn't it?
It's tomorrow week.
Tomorrow week, isn't it? I know.
Yeah.
Our listeners will have to excuse you, Sue, because your head has been so much in that summit, you don't even know what day it is now, you see.
Where am I? Who am I? You know, as the universe always gets me to where I need to be. And luckily, it's never far from home and a laptop these days. So I haven't got to I'm never late for an appointment because I've missed it.
People know what date it is. It's the 6th, isn't it?
It's the 6th and the 7th. Yeah, and it's about being you, and you're talking about giving permission to be yourself, aren't you? And it is true, we have gone too much into the head space and come out of the heart space. And I went, saying about that flexibility, I now, even though I work from home and everything now, very rarely do I fully book my days in, because I always, if it's like there's a gap and I'm like, well, I'll either rest or something's going to come in, rather than trying to fill everything up so that it looks like I'm busy. I like to leave gaps in my days and my weeks where nothing's planned, because I might end up having a phone call with someone that morning who needs me, who I wouldn't have known about the day before. So I always, if I end up with a gap, I always think, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. Because not how can I fill it? Because at the end of the day, if nothing happens, then the universe is saying, Sue, put a box set on, watch some TV, chill out, and I'm happy to go with that flow.
I think you've hit another habit on the nail there, so that a lot of people do, and that is they think they should be busy all the time, and so they kind of almost say to themselves, "Oh, look, I've got a gap. I need to fill that gap with something, whatever it is." But actually, give yourself some space, give yourself some freedom. Sit and watch a box set if you want to. So what?
You never know what inspiration you might get from watching that box set, because there is the one thing I've learned is there's inspiration everywhere. And I know a lot of people can poo-poo. I mean, I don't watch a lot of reality TV, but I do like Britain's Got Talent. I do like X Factor. I don't like necessarily the concept of it, that how it's, but those people are going to shine their light, I like the creativity of seeing how other people are creative. And that then sparks my ideas. And it's like, oh, so then I'll start writing something off. But so, yeah, bringing it back to the BU Summit, tell us a little bit about your talk next, giving yourself permission to be you. How can we get into the habit of doing that, Robyn?
For me, it's about getting out of that headspace and starting to listen, trusting our body and our intuition, that it knows what we need in that moment, whether that is binge watching a box set or being creative. And I was talking with somebody yesterday about how that allows us to really step into who we are when we can tune into our creative core and just allow that to express itself, about how that is stepping into ourselves. So listening to the body and allowing it to say, yes, that attracts me, and that's what I'm going to do, or that's where I'm going to go today, or, oh, that feels really uncomfortable, it feels off in some way, and then exploring that. What about it feels off? Is it still something that's worth doing, but I need to approach it from a different perspective? Or is it something that I should be stepping back from? So doing things like regular body scans and just tuning into what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? And if I'm feeling some discomfort, exploring that. What is it telling me? What wisdom does it hold for me? Because I think our body holds so much of that. Even, you know, our symptoms are our body, if we're actually ill, are our body saying, this needs attention. This is the area where I need support right now. So it's tuning into those things and then finding the ways that work for us as support. So taking regular time to tune in and then doing the self-care. And that self-care varies very much from individual to individual. It's what works for you, but also what works for you in this moment for that situation.
Absolutely.
So keeping flexible. And I love, David, you were talking earlier about we think that we have to be busy and we think we have to fill in our diary, and we tell ourselves that we should. And for me, a very important habit to get into is paying attention to our self-talk. Yeah. And when it says, I should, I must, I have to, then notice how that makes you feel, because it often, for me, it makes me feel kind of shutting down, closing in, restricted, versus I want to feel expansive. I want to feel liberated. I want to feel potential at every turn. So where can I notice my self-talk where it isn't serving me, and then just gently interrupting it and reframing it? How can I say something instead of, oh, I should be busy, I should be doing that? Maybe I choose to do that. Or actually today I can do something else. Because I love what you were saying, Sue, about not filling your diary and just then waiting to see what comes. And trusting that the body will just give you that little nudge. Today I should phone so-and-so. Today I need to read this book. Today, and that whatever we're doing, if we're open to it, we can get inspiration. I went to a fantastic stand-up show one night where this woman, who's a comedian and she's also an intuitive, she took out 50 Shades of Grey, the book, and she said, right, I want somebody to come up and volunteer and to give me a page number, then give me a paragraph number, then give me a line number and a word number. And she put together some really deep inspirational stuff from a book that you would never expect. But it was how she did it. And you can, if you just set an intention to be open and I've got a question for the universe, I would like an answer to this, please. Something will come, something you see, something you hear, a song on the radio, a book that you read, a film that you watch. It can come from anywhere. So for me, it's not about what we have to do, what we should do, but just about going with that flow and trusting that our body, when we listen, will give us the guidance we need.
Yeah, it's good. Something we're sort of coming towards, not there yet, but we're coming towards the end of our podcast today. We set ourselves a limit, you see. Otherwise, me and Sue are here all day. So we always set ourselves a limit. But what I'd really like to do is, Sue introduced me to two new phrases a couple of weeks ago it was, and that was a potty and a watty. And I went, what are you on about, Sue? So a potty was P-O-T-Y, which is a phrase of the year, and a watty, I'm getting this right, Sue, was a word of the year. Now, I don't know, and this is kind of around at the start of the year when we, traditionally lots of people look at New Year's resolutions. And I said, I've never heard of a watty and a potty before, but my intention now this year is to get back into running because I've kind of got out of the habit of running. And my one was to go in rain or shine, because I never really run in the rain, and I have been since. So I just wondered if at the start of the year you was one of those people, Robyn, who decided, right, this is how I'm going to do my year, and I'm going to have a New Year's resolution, if you want to call it that. But
intention. Let's call it intention, focus, and intention rather than New Year's resolution. That means that there's got to be an end to it.
Yeah.
Whereas an intention leaves it free, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. So did you do that, Robyn?
I did it starting last year. Last year was the first time that I did it, and last year my phrase was just be. Okay. So stepping out of the doingness and getting into the beingness. And then having worked with Sue on the Gratitude Summit in December and moving on to doing this one next week, I thought that just be just flowed beautifully into be you. And my focus, my work, what I do is supporting people to be themselves and to explore, what does that mean? Who am I? How do I be more myself, my soul self? So I have borrowed that, taken that, adopted that. So be you would be my phrase for the year. And I think in terms of a word for the year, I might use something like trust. Trust, listening to the body, trust that your soul self does know where it's going. It knows what its ultimate destination is, and trust that the universe is supporting you. Your soul self knows the way, and you will get there.
Yeah.
Trust was my first one. I started a Watty in 2016, and trust was my first word. Because, and I mean, most people know I've got a mantra, you know, every year I've got a mantra. They're 3 words: trust, faith, surrender. Because I've learned that without either of them, I'm screwed. Basically, I will go back down into dis-ease, that area, attachment, and all of those other things that I have, you know, clawed. But trust, you know, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we are looking for, trust is the holy grail. Let's face it, let's call it what it is. Trust is the holy grail that every one of us is looking for, and yet we look for it outside of ourselves every single time. If I get the right partner, oh, hang on, actually, if I get the right partner, I'll be able to trust them 100%. And then when they let us down because we put all those attachments and expectations on what they should do and everything, we're really hurt. So it was like, I've got to learn to trust myself. And I've realized with trust, you're never going to be able to trust anyone 100% other than yourself, because you can't, because they're allowed to break the rules and do what they need to do and be who they need to be, that might not fit in with your vision of what that trust is to them, your loyalty. And believe me, I'm hard way on this one myself. But if you can trust, I now look at it as shit can happen. Shit's going to happen. But if I trust myself enough to know that whatever is thrown at me, I will get through. So whether it is you know, a new relationship, someone breaks up with you, whether it's this, whether it's that, whether it's COVID, whatever it is, all I need to know is that if I maintain that trust within myself, yes, some of it might hurt, okay, because that's life, isn't it? We can't take away those emotions. As you were saying earlier, we can't, Robyn, we can't push them down. But we're going to experience loss. We're going to experience all these different things. If people die and different things, we're going to have those emotions. But I need to know and trust that at some point when the time's right, it all will resolve itself. And that's the only thing I need to trust. Does that make any sense to either of you?
Yeah, it did actually. Yeah. And really, you know, some of the things you're saying there, that's how we learn, isn't it? You know, by trusting ourselves and going through those challenges in our life. And it's how you deal with those challenges that makes the difference. And how you come out the other side then, because you've dealt with the challenges. Yes, it's going to be hard. Life's hard sometimes. Get used to it, you know. Yeah.
When I couldn't trust myself back in the day, well, when I was going through more upheaval mentally, physically, and emotionally, I look back on it and there was just no trust. You know, I was in a relationship where someone dumped on me from a really big height, and that, actually, no, that's a lie. That just was the cherry on top of the cake. I had a doctor do some dodgy things that should not have been done under the code and ethics of being a doctor. That took my trust away. So I assumed, you know, so you try and put all that trust in that one pot for someone, and it's too much for people. It's too overwhelming. It's suffocating. And I know that I've been that person, and it's just like, you know, I've dabbled in a lot of things, and that would be for a whole different subject and a whole different podcast. But at the end of the day, what I was looking for was trust. And the bottom line is on that day when the thing with the doctor happened, I lost trust, not in him, but in myself to say no.
Mm.
I lost trust that I would not be able to stand up for myself. And that was my downhill spiral.
Yeah.
Until I decided that actually I can trust myself. And part of that trust comes from exactly what you were saying, Robyn. We're too much up here. Our body tells us so much, and we really do ignore it, don't we? Big time. And our bodies are big. Yeah, does that make sense to anyone? I'm quite passionate about trust, as you can see.
Very passionate there.
Could I just tie in with something that you said there about what you actually lost trust in was yourself and your ability to say no? I think another great, really important habit for us to get into is self-forgiveness. When we talk about forgiveness, and we often think of that in terms of forgiving other people, forgiving things that have been done to us, but we forget that sometimes it's actually ourselves. We've done something or not done something, which we're not even aware that we're doing it, because you were thinking, well, I blame that doctor because he took my trust away. But what we're actually at the bottom line is, I cannot trust myself. I don't forgive myself for not standing up and protecting myself. So when we can, because I think it's really important to have that degree of being open and honest with ourselves, but then to be able to have that compassion to know I did the best I could. Actually, I maybe didn't feel safe to say no. That's why I didn't say no. I thought that if I said no, it would maybe be even worse. So I'm doing the best I can.
I did say no, and I got denied the no, which was even worse, because then I didn't. Yeah. It's interesting. Forgiveness, that's a whole different subject, and that is another one of my babies. And at the end of the day, the short answer with forgiveness, there's actually only one other person you need to forgive, and that's yourself. Because even if something's been done to you, you're going to judge that, and that's the only thought that you need to actually forgive, is your judgment and your perception on these things. And that you were angry at someone. At the end of the day, someone might have done something, really hideous, like to myself, but it was my own forgiveness. It was easier to forgive him than it was to forgive me for my part in it, or for my lack of part, or what have you. And yeah, forgiveness, we'll have to get you back on, Robyn, because forgiveness is that's a whole different. I'm going to have to do a summit.
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Well, there's a new one for you there. So, Robyn, we are coming towards the end now. We're really coming towards the end. So, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy and lovely to meet you, David.
Yeah, and we really must get together, because we do live quite close to each other. So when we can, we will, and keep in touch. Sue, do you want to tell everyone about the summit?
I don't want to stop today. Don't ask me to finish it. My inner child is totally.
I was just thinking that.
Throwing its toys out of the pram, going, don't wanna. Oh, Robyn, it is always a pleasure talking to you. I know you and I could just, again, like me and David, we could rabbit for hours, and we're so passionate, and I can really, this conversation today, I really felt it. I know that some of this is a podcast, but we are recording it as a video, so if anyone is just listening to this from the podcast and you want to see our gorgeous faces, then please do head on over to the Authentic Smile YouTube channel. So we've got just a few announcements. We have got the BU Summit, which is on the 6th and 7th of February. The best way that you can find out about that is either via Facebook, Mind Body Soul Summits page, or mindbodysoulsummits.com website, as all the details are and everything is there. And there's new things happening in the Mind Body Soul Summits website, because there's now a habit studio, Getting the Habit Studio, which is like a community center, but instead of us we're all plugging our own selves at the moment, and we can all do it ourselves, but we want it, some of us want to have a bit of a community feel, so that we're feeling that we are together like a community centre. So I've created the studio as well. We'll just see what else unfolds this year by leaving those doors open. So yeah, there's that, and obviously we've got the weekly podcasts on Fridays that come out with Dave. So have I covered everything, Dave? Oh, Life and Soul Radio online, Life and Soul Radio, which is lifeandsoulradio.co.uk, I believe, isn't it?
Well done. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and actually, I looked at the stats the other day, and it's going up and up and up. So thank you for listening. If you're listening to Life and Soul Radio, if you've never listened, get on there, lifeandsoulradio.co.uk. And Robyn, at some point, me and you are going to have to chat about that and get you on there at some point, doing some of the great stuff that you do. So let's have a chat about that and get you on there, because I think you'd be a really good podcaster and a host to do some of the great stuff that you do on Life and Soul Radio. So yeah, let's wrap it up for today, everyone. Thanks very much. Watch the video, listen to the podcast. Robyn, thanks very much. I hope the summit goes really well for you next week. Goodbye, everyone. See you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.